right. Well, welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to God knows what week it is.
Yeah.
I've lost track of it. March breaks over. That's all I can tell you at this point.
Yeah, we don't really know when this is going to be released, but
No, we haven't got a clue.
to the handful of people who are listening, hi.
To all 12 of you, welcome back.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get more one day. Hopefully.
Maybe, if that's what we want.
We want more.
Yeah, we do.
We need sponsors.
Like legit ones?
Like anyone. We can't keep sponsoring ourselves.
Yeah, we can. So, how's your week been so far? It's pretty early in the week.
Yesterday was all admin day. That is so cold that just made my teeth shudder because it was in my truck last night. Wow, that hurt. Yesterday was all admin, so it's been okay.
Yeah, it is only Tuesday.
Yeah, I know.
How bad could it be?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit off camera quickly when I came in this morning about some things that went on my world, but it gave us a few ideas for.
Yeah, actually, for future episodes.
Future
for sure.
episodes one, but some future learning for
both.
yeah,
I
industries.
agree. Yeah, we got to get FCT. We really got to figure that one out.
But
it's on my list for today, by the way.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'll be.
But
I'll be
what I'm getting at,
contacting.
that's a big topic that's missed, and I think is a good thing to teach both like new realtors, old realtors, like mortgage brokers,
even consumer, right? I think
yeah. Well, you know what, you're right, because
I think sometimes the consumer gets kind of caught up in this mindset of it just happens. Right. And my wife just actually messaged me about 10 minutes ago and said, do my parents have a walkthrough on their house? I'm like, yeah, they have a walkthrough. They've got 3 of them, actually. We kind of talked about it when, we did the whole thing. But they don't even understand. My consumer doesn't really understand to even go back and reread their contract, right? They go through it with their realtor. When do you think the next time a consumer actually opens up that contract?
Never.
You got it.
I would say never.
I would say that once they've been through it and they've signed off on it, the next thing that they read is what the lawyer puts in front of them, or their notices.
And I think the word "read."
Yes.
So you're using that
skims maybe a little bit better
at best.
And I think that's the best part of it.
Okay. Well, you touched on something that I thought we should jump into today.
Sure. What do you want to talk about?
I wanted us to dive into the other week. I should say weeks.
Yep.
We spent kind of diving into our database.
Yeah.
So whether you're somebody new jumping into this, whether you're somebody who has neglected this,
needs a kick in the ass.
Sure. Like it has to be done.
Sure.
And we kind of gave somebody a pretty loose roadmap on what you should be doing.
Yep.
And kind of why.
Yeah.
Right. We did a little of the how.
We didn't really get into the nitty gritty.
Not the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
But what I thought was a good topic for us to dive into is the whole follow-up system.
Yep.
Your whole like client journey. And you were touching on it today because I think a lot of times why clients don't read your contract again is probably related to the amount of trust that they have in you.
100%.
Right. And I had somebody say this to me the other week. Good close buddy. I had to go over his whole mortgage signing package, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll run through this for you. It'll be a pretty lengthy video." And he goes, "Well, I think you just told me everything I needed to know."
Yeah, and then you try to explain to them, "No, I have an obligation to explain it to you," and they're like, "Okay."
It's bang on what happened. I go, "Well, I got to cover my butt."
Yep.
I'm still sending you this. I was like, "It'll be a 25-minute video." I ended up messaging him. I go, it was a little longer today. We got 35.
Yeah.
And then
he watched it?
He did.
Oh, did he?
I go, how was it? He goes, not bad. He goes, it was dry. And I was like, but this probably saved you 2 hours
of reading.
But also like a 2-hour bank meeting. You don't have to have pleasantries. You don't have to pretend to care
sit
about
in the waiting room.
Sure, you have to pretend to care about how my day went.
Yeah.
I sent you what you needed to know.
Yeah.
I went through the important stuff, and he was like, yeah, I watched it. It's good. We're good.
Yeah. It's funny because I have clients right now on a place that I have listed where it's the son and daughter and mom and dad are also on the contract. That was how they bought the house. And I primarily deal with the mom and daughter or the son and daughter.
Okay.
But once an offer came in, I'm like, it can't just be you guys anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I know
everybody on the house.
Everybody has to have this conversation. So I called I said, listen, before we meet, I'm going to call mom and I'm going to get mom and dad on the phone and I'm going to walk them through what I have and then we'll meet and make the
Yeah.
decisions. And you can have conversation with
It's
them
that
after
extra
about
step
the
that you
price.
you don't want them playing telephone.
No, but here's the thing. I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, morning, blah, 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 blah. Her first response was, I know everything that's going on. I'm like, that's nice, but I have to tell you, I have this obligation.
Yeah, well
So
then
I go through everything with her and she's like, okay, whatever price they decide. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Like, you're still going to have to sign off on it. You're still going to get this
yeah.
summary document that says,
You might be okay with it all, but we're still gonna go through the motions.
yeah, 100%. So I thought actually, after having that exact conversation, I thought about creating a document that is a summary document of the offer. So
Oh,
price,
that's a good idea because even a question like Sue had, walkthroughs,
yeah,
3, whatever. You
yeah,
you can come back this many times. We have this,
right,
this, this. Here's the points that you care about.
yes. And just extrapolate it from it, send it to them, say, here's what you need to know about it outside of all the legal things that we've gone through.
Make it like you did that Canva sheet
Yeah, 100%.
where you have a pull-off book and
So
you just go,
I'm gonna
Here's what you
I'm
need to know
creating
about."
a handover, what I call a handover document. So once the deal's done, here's the contact information that you're going to need. Here's
Yeah.
the things that you're going to need to do. Here's the key points of your contract.
Yeah.
This handover, so that that you've got to cancel your utilities. You know that you've got to do this. You
Home
know that you've got
insurance,
to
you
do
gotta,
that.
yes.
Whatever the case may
So
be.
I think this is awesome because it highlights that no matter what stage you're at in your career, you're always tweaking
Oh,
your
100%.
customer journey, your client
Yeah.
experience, whatever it is. And this is all like this whole client experience, customer journey is like the umbrella term
Yeah.
for what we would call like, hey, last week we spent or weeks talking about here's how you can organize your world to get your first lead in the door.
Yep.
And this today, ideally, is you got your first lead in the door.
Yeah. What do you do with
What
it?
do you do with it?
Yeah.
Right?
So I think there's a lot of similarities between what we do and what you do on this front. I think this is going to be one of those areas where it's not going to differ a whole ton between us. And I think if you were to bring a home inspector in and an insurance person in, the conversation would be very similar.
I think broad strokes, it's the concepts are the same.
Yeah.
Put it that way, right?
Yeah. Your finite details might differ.
You may have
but the
emphasis on
principle.
one stage a little bit.
Right.
You may have a little, yeah, like it might shift where you put tremendous amount of focus.
Yep.
But the idea is keep your client informed.
Yep.
Stay connected. Make sure they kind of know what's going on through the entire time, and that you guys are kind of vibing.
Yeah.
Right. Like
and you've got to keep. So listen, once you get that client in the door, once you've got that or that lead, let's not call him a client yet.
Yep. Somebody who says, "Hey, Steve, thanks for letting me know that you've entered the world," or "Thanks for letting me know that you are changing how you operate. You're taking your database kind of by the scruff of the neck."
Yep.
I was actually thinking that I do want to list my house.
Yeah. So for us, we have a multi-step process that we have to follow, right? So the first thing is like you've got to go meet these people. And far too many times people give out information
For free.
without, well, not even necessarily for free, but without having perspective, right? Like, so I get this phone call all the time. And a lot of times it's from you guys. What's this house worth? I don't effing know. I haven't
That
been
is
in the
always, yeah.
house. That's you guys. It's
Mhm.
my lawyer asks me the same question all the time.
yeah.
I don't
Hey, what do you
know.
think?
Yeah.
If you were to give me an off the cuff,
Yeah.
you know what's funny? Because that's the equivalent of what's your best rate?
Yeah. Oh, it's the same
It's
thing.
it's the
right?
same type of question where you
It-
go, well, what do you mean?
Yeah. And you're like, I gotta do my job. Like,
Uh-huh.
like that's like saying to the lawyer, like, hey, I want you to go to court for me tomorrow, but you don't get to know the details of the case until you walk into the
Well,
courtroom,
What
right?
I've realized in that both of those questions, meaning what's your best rate versus what's this house worth, somebody wants to know what ballpark are we in? Because oftentimes, if I'm asking you, my anchor value
Yes.
might not even exist.
Yes.
And for the consumer, when they're asking what's rate, what's a good rate?
Yeah.
If you have actually been paying attention to the market, you'd
You got an
You've got an
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
So to me, I've come to the conclusion that they have no point of reference. So I'd go, it's low fours, low to mid fours. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. And honestly, once you, I mean, here's the thing: once somebody starts asking questions,
Mhm.
it's your job to give them the information to build that relationship, right? So when you ask me a question like that, and I, take my lawyer out of the equation because I answer more questions for him than anybody going. But once a consumer asks you that question, you immediately have to start communicating to them information,
Yeah, it's like
right?
you have to be able to enter.
Their world.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to get into their mindset. So somebody calls you and says, "Hey, what's my house worth?"
Or you have to be able to steer them into the questions that they should be asking.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you've got to build the trust first. I think you've got to get them the information that they really ask. You've got to answer
Okay.
the question. So I think that you've got to, you know what, like, because if you start spewing, other stuff at them, the first question they're going to be is, "Yeah, but you didn't answer my question."
Sure.
Right? Answer their question first once you've given them that information, and then start to build out content for them. And I think one of the areas where I think both of us, our businesses kind of get stuck in this is the content becomes one size fits all as opposed to specific to the consumer. We worry about scheduling everything. And I think there's an element of it where you should be scheduling a
Mhm.
newsletter to go out and that kind of generic information. But I also think that you need to have this repertoire of content that you've built that you can one-off
It's
say
very specific.
it's to that person,
Yeah.
right? Like, here's the Welland stats. Here's what you need to know about what's going on in Welland today versus
Yeah.
a year ago or versus 2 years ago. Here's the report that I produce for my clients to keep them in the know so that they understand what is happening every single month.
It's
I'm
like
going to send you that every single month now so that you know what's going on.
the broad stroke stuff is you kind of staying top of mind.
Yes.
And then when you're getting specific, that's you targeting
Yes.
something, an
100%.
individual or whatever.
So somebody calls you and says, "Hey, Steve, or Greg, I want to sell my house in Welland, but I want to buy in Fort Erie." Okay, can you tell me what the area is that you're in so I can kind of start
Sure.
to build a profile? What are you interested in purchasing in Fort Erie
What's
so that I can
important to
start to
you?
build a profile? But hey, hang on a second. Let's take a step back.
Mhm.
Why don't we get together?
Yeah.
Why don't we sit down
Yep.
and have a true conversation about what your needs are, what your wants are, what your timelines are, all of those things? Because as I'm gathering that information at that appointment, I know what information now I've got to start sending out to them. Right? If they're a newbie, if they're a first time home seller, you sold them this house, you know what? They're ready to move on. They have no perspective on what selling a house is. And a
No.
listing presentation is not going to do it for them because they're not going to understand the process.
It's step one is you have to find out if there's something there. Meaning
Yeah.
you got to go on like a
Exploratory mission.
yes.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in the past where you have to be able to say no, right?
Yes.
So that this is not only to see if there are meat on the bones,
Yeah.
meaning like, hey, like, are you realistic with where you're thinking of listing?
Yeah.
But also, is this somebody that I want to work with?
Yep.
Right? You might go to this meeting or you have this phone call. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
No.
This could be 15 minutes. Like,
It could be a Zoom call.
it could be.
Right.
But I think of from my lens of things where I go, on that first call, I'm looking for anything that is going to make this not happen.
Yeah. Red flags.
Red flags. That's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm looking for those red flags,
Yeah.
the ones that you need to find early on.
Yeah. The
To
client,
address
the house is worth 450 and they want to list it 600.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I don't think I'm the right guy for you guys.
Yeah.
But the reality is both sides, it's your fact finding because you want to see, do I want to work with them? And are they somebody that's going to fit my tribe? Right.
Yeah. And I don't think there's enough emphasis put on fit my tribe.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we were talking a little bit ago about how the, I lost my train of thought, how the, gun.
All right. Well, we'll take a
Move
break
on.
there.
Take a break there.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living.
sometimes you have to revisit
Yeah.
things to remember what they were. So my point was going to be is your client can never be left thinking, I don't know what's next. So at every step of the way, you need to be the one spelling out for them to
Yes.
say, okay, this is what we've covered. Here's our next steps.
Yep.
So you meet, you do your interview, you have that sit down with them, you however you want to do it. And listen, there's a million ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Onboarding to me is one of the most important things that you can do with the client.
You're setting the tone and you're setting expectations.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that that I think we are terrible at, and I think both industries, I think that having a good questionnaire about a consumer is so important, and I think that it sometimes is just far too analytical as opposed to,
Mm-hmm.
what is your life, right? So where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What are your lifestyles? Because it's easy to say location, 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 because that's, that's the mantra in our business. But you know, like the location within a community is a huge difference. People say, "Oh, I want to be in the North End." Okay,
Where?
where in the North End?
Yeah.
Because the North End of St. Catharines, is anything basically above the QEW, for example, right? So Port Dalhousie is far different than over on
Port Weller.
Port Weller area,
Yeah.
right? So, having these broader conversations in an onboarding process.
They're also just more genuine conversations. Like,
Yes.
again, through my lens of things, the one that I get people to answer honestly when they bring up, it's, well, fixed versus variable,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because nobody wants to make the quote unquote wrong decision.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be able to say, oh, yeah, I made the right call on this one. But the reality is, you might not be suited for a variable for 12 different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
And none of them could be financial.
Exactly.
Right? It could be psychological for
It's
you.
most of the time psychological. And it's the same thing that I tell people when they think about, well, should we take the extra money and invest it? Right?
Yeah.
Because we can get this amount of returns and our rate is this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the maths.
Yeah.
Right? And in most instances, it maths to put that extra money in there. But I go, how would you feel not having a mortgage?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's something to be said for the psychological kind of weight that's lifted.
Yeah.
And so I think that's huge because, yes, the black and white stats might say something.
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you think,
Yeah.
client?
And there's not enough of that. There's not enough of asking probing questions.
Yeah.
Far too often we get stuck in how many bedrooms do you need? How many bathrooms do you need? Well, okay, those are all great questions, but honestly, that's an easy question. I need to know, what's your lifestyle? Do you want to be here? Do you go outside? Do you spend a ton of time out in your backyard? Do you plan on doing anything? Do you entertain? Do you do these things? Because all of those things will help drive what your purchase is. And I would imagine, although not as broad as in your side, but like in some cases, as on your side, do you want to have a person that you can talk to? At the institution. So if you need additional products, do you want to build that relationship?
Yeah.
Right. We're going to take care of your mortgage, but say we send you to Scotiabank. Scotiabank's going to give you a flex mortgage, and you're going to have this, and
that's the big one. It's to
right?
me, I look at the flexibility of something, and it might be, you're able to set your mortgage up in this manner, meaning with like a home equity line of credit or whatever. And if we can do that, I think that'd be valuable. Maybe there's some rentals you're thinking of doing. It sets you up to kind of be able to do whatever you need.
Yep.
But
that goes back to the psyche of the consumer. Some people absolutely need to have that person that they can pick up and pick on the phone and talk to somebody. Whereas a guy like me, I don't care. I'm not coming to you for that information ever. I will source it myself. But you need to have that, so for me, I'm a monoline guy. Like, put me in a monoline. I don't need a branch. So those kind of questions, what type of person are you for you guys? And that goes to the variable and fixed as well. And, even down to things like term, right? Like, we were talking a few weeks ago about friends of ours that have a 10-year mortgage and how few of those you ever see. But realistically, if you told me in 2021 to take a 10-year mortgage and I was going to pay slightly higher
Then what was available at the time?
than what was available at the time, I might have been interested because realistically, we knew that the gravy trade was going to end at some point. That would have been our expertise that we use. And you know what? You could have locked in and gotten a really great rate for a really long time.
Yeah.
But everybody saw, oh, it was going to be 2.69,
Sure.
you know, when it was 2.19. Yeah, you're going to pay a half a point. I'd kick a nun for that kind of that kind of rate right now. Do you know what I mean?
Hindsight, right?
Right. So, you know, like, and I think that's where asking those kind of questions gets you to that conversation.
Yeah.
And once you've decided to work with that person, what's next?
Yeah. So I will back us up for a second. The one thing
Sure.
I will say is, because we are kind of diving into this whole client journey and what we're thinking should be done, and what we've kind of highlighted right now is your interview, your onboarding is very important.
Yeah.
The one thing we didn't touch on is like the speed that you
Yeah.
get to your lead.
Yeah.
Meaning when somebody submits some sort of an inquiry, do you have a standard?
I do.
And I think a lot of people should have a standard that they hold themselves to.
Yeah.
Right?
For me, I had somebody message me yesterday. It was actually a realtor. Excuse me. And they sent me a message through, and I was sitting at my computer, and I was able to respond pretty quickly. And we went through the whole situation. And at the end of the conversation, she said, "Thanks for getting back to me so quickly."
Yeah.
And I thought it was just normal. Like, I just thought, hey, you know what? Like, but she appreciated how quick I got back to her.
Yeah.
To me, if you don't respond to a text message within a few minutes, they've moved on.
This text is huge.
Text is huge.
And so
Same, and email, I think you've got a little bit longer, but I don't think there's a ton longer anymore. It used to,
phone to me,
used to
you've
be.
got like 3 hours.
Yeah, if you leave me a voicemail, I used to have it. I don't know. I haven't listened to my voicemail. Actually, now that you say that, I probably should go back because I bet you it still says I'm in Europe. If you leave me a voicemail, if you get to my voicemail, it says, if it's urgent,
Text.
have me paged through my office or shoot me a text. I say that right in the message because I'm setting that expectation that I don't necessarily check my voicemail
But I can
instantaneously.
be reached if it's urgent. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's huge because it not only sets the expectations with the people you work with, meaning your referral partners,
Yeah.
right. Somebody says, "Hey, you got to talk to Steve about this." I know he's going to contact you. You know, if you
Yeah,
call him within
you're
a
not
couple
gonna-
hours.
Yeah, you're not going to be waiting for days.
You're not sitting in the dark.
Yeah.
And so I think the one constant you're going to see when we're talking about this is that you have to build something that is consistent and repeatable
And manageable.
and manageable. Yeah. Meaning if you're trying to say, "Yeah, I respond within 15 minutes."
You better be able to follow through on that.
Yeah.
Right. I was talking to a group.
You're better off under promising and over delivering, being like, "Hey,
Yes.
I'll get back to them within 2 hours," but
Yeah.
most of the time you could probably touch base within an hour and a
Yep.
half, right?
There are some great tools out there that will alleviate some of those things. And I was telling my team, I have a series of bomb videos recorded and I think you should do this for every single client once you sign them and record a personal video and says, "Hey, Greg, sorry I missed your call. You know, I'm just tied up right now. As soon as I can get back to you, I will." Don't send them a voicemail. Don't send them a text. Send that video to them quickly.
I have that done too.
Right? You send that off to them. All of a sudden, now they're seeing you.
Yes.
There's
a face to
there's a
name.
reinforcement there.
Yes.
It's a quick text. You don't have to. You go in a bomb and hit send, and it's gone in 10 seconds. It's actually faster than doing a text message because you're going to grab the contact. But I think that kind of personal relationship building tool is huge. But again, you have to do that consistently.
Sure.
Right? And the consumer has to open it. Right. And that's the thing is, you know, like you can go in and record one on the fly, which, you know, is just as quick. "Hey, sorry, Mr. Call you right back." Right.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be, you know, that message that drives
Right.
me
But when you get
mental.
busy, can you scale
But that's
it?
the thing. So if you don't
Yeah.
pre-record something,
Yeah.
you know, it may not be feasible. But nothing drives me crazier than those, you know, you call somebody and, "Hey, can I call you later?" message that comes back off the Apple iPhone. Right? Because there's a button that says,
Yeah,
when
you
I
don't
call,
like that?
That drives me mental.
I've made a custom one.
Yeah, so have I. But I send it to every single person. I know what Mark is sending me from down the hall before he even sends it to me if he's on the phone. I know what his is because it's the same thing every single time. It doesn't feel very personal anymore. It just feels like it's just another button on his phone. Whereas if you send something out to them that is very personal, and I think
Oh, sorry,
video.
I meant I customized a
Per,
templated one.
oh yeah, okay. Which works, but it's still the same principle. It's going to
Yep.
be the same all the time, right? So if you build one for your client,
So to back up on that, to me it depends on where we are in
it's like,
in our friendship.
sure, true,
If you're pretty early on, I send you this larger one. Hey, I'm on the phone with a client right now. I can get in touch with you with whatever within the
yeah,
next 30 minutes.
yeah.
If it's later, I'll call you back one
Yeah, I mean, and again,
or send me a
I think
text.
that goes back to something that I think a lot of this really comes down to, which is KYC, know your client.
Yeah. Yep.
Know, read the room, know who you're dealing with, and know how you can communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes back again to part of that interview process at the
Yes.
beginning. How do they want to be communicated with? And that's not done enough,
No.
right? We never take them back to the way that they want to communicate.
That's a good one. And you may have a desired communication method, and that might be part of your process, which is, hey, I
Yes.
funnel everybody into email, or I funnel everybody into
Yeah.
this. Okay, so we've established that you have to set the tone for how quickly you are responding to somebody
Yeah.
and capturing this lead.
Yep.
So that you can start your onboarding process.
Yeah.
You can start interviewing them, seeing if you guys are a good fit.
Yeah.
If it's the type of client you want to take on, if you guys are going to vibe, right?
So do you do interrupt? Do you do a quick phone call, like not even an exploratory phone call? Do you do a quick, hey, it's Steve or Greg? I just got your information given to me
Mhm.
by somebody. I wanted to touch base with you, and kind of just set that groundwork and say, is there a time where we can have a more detailed conversation, or do you jump right into that detailed conversation with them?
So I ask.
Okay.
I said, do you have about 10 minutes right now for us to just dive in and see
Yeah.
what you have going on? To me, if they're seeking and somebody has sent you the
Yeah.
referral, it means it's on their brain, right?
Yeah.
And if you get them on the phone, why are you going to push them to a later date?
Oh, I agree. I don't, and I'm
so
not. I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I think it's going to depend on
if
the
I am
person on the
able
other
to,
end.
and if I have taken the time to touch base with you to say, hey, you know, I can, and you might only have 30 minutes, and you can say, hey, listen, if you have 20, we can dive into this right now and figure out, what your situation looks like, and then it'll give me a better idea of what our next steps are, and then I
Yeah.
can send you an email.
Yeah.
And so if I'm able to, I do it right there.
Okay.
I try.
And that's fine. Like it just, I think that there's different modes to
Yep.
do that. I also think this is one of those areas where it's a slightly different for us,
Mhm.
because once you've typically got them, they're already in the process, right? Unless it's a refi,
Yeah.
they're already, talking about buying a house. They've already talked to a realtor. They've already,
Yeah.
in a lot of cases,
And
right?
also, now that you're saying this, it depends on how they were sent to me.
True. Where the sources.
Meaning, did they come through email,
Yeah.
text, or did they call me?
Okay.
Does
that make a difference how you respond to them?
Yeah, because
Okay.
if I get it through email, I push them to book a time in my calendar.
Okay.
I just respond with, I'd love to chat. Book a time that works for you.
Yeah. And I think that's a great
Whereas
way of doing it.
if it has come through text, meaning, hey, somebody's been like, hey, can you talk to them? I just got off the phone with them. They're blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, you got off the phone with them? They're probably still on the phone. Like, is it
Yeah.
noon? They're probably on lunch. I'll give them a ring.
Yeah.
Or if they've called me and I've picked up,
If they call, I think you're committed to a call.
I
at that
agree. And
point.
if you have picked up.
Yeah.
If you've picked up,
yeah.
you've set the, hey, we're having this call right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
I've got the time for you right now because I've answered that call.
I've answered it.
Yeah.
I've acknowledged that this is happening. So the other thing that you have to start figuring out and setting up a consistent system for is following up with these leads
Oh, yeah.
when you are going to consider it a cold lead. And what happens at that point? I mean, we know what happens at that point, and that answer should be they move into
They should be put into your CRM, into your database
Right.
management.
to be nurtured long term.
And because not all of these leads will, even warm leads sometimes, when what I deem to be a warm lead is
Sure.
somebody from a mortgage agent, from
Yes,
a lawyer,
agreed.
a referral
Somebody
type.
who is transferring trust.
Right. To me, when I think about that, is they're automatically, no matter what, whether if they're handed off, they're going into my database.
Agreed.
Right? Like there's no, and then I have that that warm conversation with them. Okay, listen, first of all, thanks for calling because,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the business being sent to me by whomever,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging the person that sent it. So you have that opening salvo conversation with them, and then you kind of hang up the phone and you go, okay, is this somebody that's realistic? Is
Yes.
this somebody that I want to put a ton of effort into? Or is this somebody that I want to nurture long term because I don't think that they're there yet? Right. And you got to be careful. You got to be pretty confident in the fact that you are convinced that they're not there yet to kind of, put them
Mm-hmm.
into the lead gen system. But that goes back to what we were talking about in our database and classifying people, right? And
Bingo.
that is a
Nail on the head.
skill, right? Like, you may think somebody's a cold lead and they just haven't told you that they're hot to trot,
Sure, but
right?
so this is again where you have to put almost like a checklist into your follow-up system. So
Yeah.
if you talked to them Monday and you were like, yeah, they're not quite ready.
Yeah.
Follow up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to say whatever cadence you're doing now.
Yeah.
If it's a warm lead, maybe you're following up end of the week or
Yeah.
1 week from
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if there was something there, if there's somebody you would consider, 3-4 months down the line, maybe you follow up in 2 weeks and go, hey, I wanted to touch base again, see how everything was going. Did you have a chance to sort of chat or to think about what we chatted about?
Yeah.
Right? Because all of a sudden, well, yeah, like from my world, all of a sudden you find out, well, actually, I did talk to grandma and they're thinking that they're going to gift us some money. So does that change things at all for us?
Yep.
And you're like, well, yeah, all of a sudden that
Yeah.
actually makes this feasible,
Yeah.
doable.
I would
And
argue, though, that when you get to that kind of stuff, I would hope that your interview, that conversation, answers a lot of that stuff. Because I would ask the questions, right? And that goes back to
it
asking those
can, but
probing questions,
they
right?
may not have,
They may not know the answer.
or they think they know the answer.
Right.
Right. Because they may say, yeah, we only have small down payments saved up.
Yeah.
We got good jobs. We want to buy this house off of so and so.
Yeah.
Family friend, a grandparent, perhaps.
Yeah.
And now you may say, oh, well, you'll never qualify for this at market value, right?
Yeah.
Face value. They're like, okay, well, we'll keep going back to the drawing board. They may head back, talk to this family friend, and the family friend may say, well, listen, we can work something out here. We'll gift you equity. We'll do
Yep.
this. We'll do that. It's a gift.
Yeah.
There may be scenarios that weren't quite on the table.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes from the constant communication for
Yes.
sure, and detailed notes.
Oh yeah,
Right? Like
this is huge.
this part is, when you're building a database, think about a major corporation, right? Nike, and I go back to Nike a lot just because I think of them starting out in what's his name, Knight's car,
Mhm.
right? They were just a small business. They were
Mhm.
just a small, tiny company until they got Michael Jordan really involved. If I remember that story correctly, don't yell at me if I'm wrong. But
Or do
do
leave a comment.
right? Yeah, you can do that too. You can make fun of me too. But like this company had to define who they were appealing to, who they were marketing to, and they didn't just do it blindly. Companies don't spend millions of dollars without knowing who their client is. And if you're going to spend, not millions of dollars, but a ton of time, which is valuable and arguably more valuable than money in a lot of cases, you have to invest in it in a manner that makes sense for that client, right? Don't just spew stuff at them, right? You have to take notes on them. You
Mhm.
have to learn about them. You have to know as much as you possibly can about them, and then build that relationship around that information. Because if you got to somebody that says, "Hey, I want to, I want to work with you on selling my house," and you never talk about where they're going to move to, right, or what their plans are,
Mhm.
you are leaving yourself open to a whole world of hurt because you don't know all the information about these people.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had clients recently say to me, the plan's always been sell in Fort Erie, buy in Fort Erie.
Mhm.
Okay. That's been their plan. We sit down to work on an offer. It's all now of a sudden it's sell in Fort Erie. Can you help us buy in Aurelia?
Whoa.
And I'm like, what?
What happened?
What happened? And I talk to these people 3-4 times a week, but they've started to do some reflection and some self, whatever the case may
Sure.
be. And now all of a sudden they're like, we think there's more opportunity and better support for us there. And I'm like, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
But let's figure out a plan now, what we're going to do, because going and buying a house in Aurelia, and listen, I refer 99% of my business when it goes there. But when the client says to me, we only want to work with you, and I'm like, no, no, we're going to do this differently. And they're like, no, we want you to help us. And I'm like, okay, so we now have to pivot.
Love that.
And say, what are we doing differently? Right? Do you have a backup plan? Because buying a house in Fort Erie today is easy.
Yeah.
Buying a house in Aurelia, I have to do the research. I have to go and learn about this market. I have to know what's available. I have to know what you can
You also got to
afford.
say, give me a second here. I got to.
I got to take a breath and step back. So, it's everything is, in my mind, doable, but it's also based on the relationship that you have with those people, and building that relationship over time takes an enormous amount of energy. And
well, we talked about how it'd be fun for you to almost track, live stream, or record the amount of.
Do you know that the thought of doing it horrifies me.
So you would track and record the amount of hours and interactions from the minute somebody got in touch with you to the minute they closed on whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like you always said, like it'd be fun to stitch it all together. Like you put March 2nd, first meeting, you're like live streaming, 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Next scene is 2 weeks down the line, whatever the.
However that
it would
that
be
client
fun
works
to.
out. Yeah. It would be fun. It would be horrifying.
And then you put up your commissions, you put in the hours you spent, and you.
And break it all down, right? And so that the consumer actually sees, that. But I think we're kind of getting away from this subject a little bit. So let's take a break, because we're there, and we'll regroup and come back with a little bit more on focus.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing?
Okay, welcome back to the final segment. And
Howdy.
We're gonna put a nice little bow on this conversation.
Yeah. So the imaginary clients in our world here, they've come to you. You've set the tone early on. You figured out whether or not they were clients you wanted to deal with. You followed up with them at a regular cadence based on how that first, client onboarding call went.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they say, Steve, we're ready to pull the trigger and buy our house or a home.
Or whatever the product is.
Yeah, whatever the product is. We're now looking to move forward and buy a tractor.
Yeah, so now I think one of the keys is, and I think we kind of briefly touched on it, but not a ton, is there needs to be the 100% clear expectation now of the steps moving forward to get you from here to here.
It's huge
right?
in our world because things can move fast.
Or slowly in some cases. And I think that's, depending on the situation, right? Like, people want everything right now, right? Like, or, how often, and I know, because I hear this from the both of you and Sue, is how many times do clients get upset? And actually I had one of my realtors in the office the other day complaining about how much paperwork they had to submit. And how much time it was taking them to, collect that paperwork because of how much there was, and they were getting annoyed with it. So they were working in this example, they were working with a mortgage broker. The mortgage broker said, I need blah, 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 blah. The guys the seller gets, or the purchaser gets all ticked off. He's like, I'm not doing all this. He says, I'm going to my bank. So he walks in the door to his bank, and guess what? The list was longer. So now he's pissed because he hasn't bought a house in 40 years. He's buying this for a family member. And all of a sudden, now he's got this list. He's like, I'm just paying cash. I'm going to take the money out of my investments. I'm not going through all of this.
Yeah.
But the people who he was working with never set that clear expectation of, okay, here's the list of things that we need from you. We're going to need it. It's going to feel like it's a lot of paperwork, but keep in mind, mortgages aren't $150,000 anymore.
No.
They're $600,000, and the banks have an element of risk that they have to protect themselves against. And having those conversations, right, and spelling it out and saying, okay, I need this by this, I need this by this, just so you know, and you can start to prepare to put these things together. together, right? I need all these as part of our process. For me, it's I want to know that you've been pre-approved. I want to know who it's been pre-approved with. I want to know the lender. I want to know how much cash you have on hand in case an appraisal comes up short.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a whole host of those things, and we're going to have those conversations as we go along. But for now, let's start focusing on this. And once we've got this, then we'll move to this, and then we'll move to this. So there's a clear delineation of where they're going and how they're going to get from this conversation to this closing of this deal, right? Whether it's a refi, whether it's a purchase, whether it's going to get their burger at the food truck that we've talked about a million times, they want to know with certainty what that process is going to
Yeah.
be. You know, go back to the food truck. The guy shows up at the food truck. I've been going to the same food truck in the same spot for 2 years.
Mhm.
Every Friday I go to this food truck. All of a sudden,
Are you a Seinfeld fan?
no,
Oh,
I hate Seinfeld.
I was gonna bring up the Soup Nazi.
But I do know that that's a perfect example. I do know the story of the soup Nazi.
Yes.
So all of a sudden now that food truck puts on an item that blows up.
Mhm.
And now on Friday when I show up for my lunch that I'm expecting that's supposed to take me 15 minutes, it's an hour and 15-minute wait.
Yeah, that is
Because
huge.
I haven't communicated properly to the people that have been, following me for X amount of time
Yeah.
and saying, hey,
Mhm.
just so you know, we're expecting this, or this has changed,
Mhm.
and this is going to affect you, right? So I think one of the things that communication, once you've got that client, they need to know everything that affects them. But there are times, and this is going to be contentious, there's times where you need to keep your mouth shut and not get your client riled up until you've got the answer. And I think that's one of those ones where your skill becomes important as well.
Yeah, like you've
clients are
said
gonna say-
before, that it's the story you're telling versus the facts sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, I think, hugely important to some consumers because, again, knowing your client,
Mhm.
if you've got a very emotional client
Yes.
who will fly off the handle at every hiccup along the way,
Mhm.
maybe they don't need to have the hiccup put in front of them until you know definitively what that response is. Right. So again, it goes back to know your clients, spell out of those expectations and take it from A to B to C to D
Mhm.
in a logical process and step by step by step so that they're never in the world of unknown,
Mhm.
but know what they need to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's the communication. It's the things that we take for granted, right? When I say, like now, we send something in, I go, here is our expected like timeline, meaning I'm not expecting to hear from them in, depending on the lender,
Yeah.
3 days, 5 days, whatever it is. But the tone is set, meaning don't expect an answer from me tomorrow. We
Yeah.
might get one.
Yeah.
But as of right now, the turnaround time is, 3 business days before we pick it up and we hear anything.
Yeah. Listen, on our side, we run into this where I'm trying to get information from another realtor. And guess what? They're nowhere to be found.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I see in our Facebook groups and even in our own internal stuff. I tried to get a hold of so-and-so, been trying for 3 days.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean you've been trying for 3 days? Why haven't you escalated this?
Mhm.
Well, they're not going to have the answer. No, but the person that they report to will know where this person is. And if they don't, they'll find them because if they're not doing their job.
I had that happen once where I was trying to get something from a realtor. This was a couple years ago. A small document.
Yeah.
She didn't answer, and you end up calling her, no answer, and then a couple days later, you're like, wait a minute. I went up. Turns out she was just away on vacay.
Yeah.
It was the winter, and she was like, oh, I thought she was gonna her superior was like, oh, I thought she was gonna have her email access and
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe
Yeah.
something went wrong.
Yeah.
Let me get that for you.
There's always a way to solve most problems.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the other thing that I think consumers react emotionally. Right? I talked to somebody yesterday about when you go to sell your house, it is no longer a home. It's a
product.
house. It's a product.
Yeah.
It's a business transaction. And one of my goals to a consumer when I'm working with them is to say, I don't care what you think about your house because what you think of your house
Mhm.
is irrelevant to what the buyer thinks of your house because they're the ones bringing the money to the
There's
table.
also, I know the one realtor in our office here, she's big on restaging the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning like, hey, I know I've got an eye for what what appeals to most people.
Yep.
Not saying your stuff's not cool.
Yep.
I just think this is going to appeal to more uh generic.
And in some cases, that's a great example because in some cases, it's not about what you have.
Yeah.
It's about reorganizing what you have, or
Yeah.
replacing,
Yep.
or adding a punch of this or a punch of that, or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be.
A blanket here, like
But
little
she
stuff that you think
spells
doesn't.
that out with her
You know what I'm talking
consumer.
about?
I know exactly who you're talking about. She spells that out with her consumer as part of her initial process.
Yeah.
When she's in that house, she says, "Okay, listen, I have 2 rooms full of stuff for staging. I'm going to bring some stuff to your house, and we're going to make it look pretty,
Sure.
right? We're going to make it appeal to the
Because
most
that
people."
is a skill.
Oh yeah,
It's
And-
it's the same as in like any sort of interior decorating, right?
100%. And there's a reason stagers cost
Yeah.
a fair amount of money.
Mhm.
And if you've got that skill, oh bless you, because I don't have it.
Yeah.
Right? I
Meaning,
look at it and go, okay,
cool.
yeah, it looks good.
Well,
Yeah.
you're like typical guy. You have a piece of plywood on a couple cinder blocks. You're like, this is my coffee table.
Yeah, like it wouldn't bother me in the slightest, right? But I think that one of those things is, again, goes back to that expectation of, okay, I'm going to stage your house, right? But here's the key to that. I need you to take care of it.
Yeah.
I need you to keep it
Keep it clean.
keep it clean,
Yeah.
keep it showroom ready, right? Because you never know when that call is going to come. And it's funny because that conversation would never have been had 5 years ago. That conversation would have been, listen, I need you to get your house ready for 2 weeks
And that's
because
it.
we're going to sell it in
And then
2
we're going
weeks.
to take offers on this and this day.
Exactly. And I know that, it's going to be whatever the case may be. It's going to be sold, whatever. But we're not in this for a long haul. Now it's about, okay, listen, we're going to go and get your house ready. You're going to have to live in this showroom condition. I'm telling you now that this is going to take some time. It's
Yeah.
going to be difficult. But when you go to buy a house, we're going to be done in a week because you're going to spend the next 3 months looking at houses while you're waiting for yours to sell.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be able to go out and look at the 10 houses that you've favorited, and you'll be able to pick one from that.
Yeah.
Again, setting expectations of that process along the way. And this is a skill. Like, this is something
You'll
that
learn.
you will learn.
And
because,
this is what we were getting at in the beginning, which is you're going to be tweaking this
100%.
a lot.
I'm 18 years in, and I'm re-envisioning. I talked to, shout out to Vanessa Wilson last night,
Mhm.
and we were talking about something, and I said to her, this is what I would do for your clients,
Mhm.
because I know you're struggling with this aspect. And she said, that's brilliant. And literally, it
But
was
also
just a
things
neat, different.
change.
Yeah.
You may have, because in our world of real estate, things have shifted.
Yeah.
And so something that may have worked, a la, we're going to list this open houses for 2 weeks. If that was in your process, all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute, that's not how we're running things anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's funny. You need to almost have as a realtor, you need to have a book of 3 different books: a seller's market, a stable market, a buyer's market. Because
how
the
your process
the
differs.
playbooks in each one of those is
Yeah.
completely different.
and your whole customer experience,
Right.
client journey kind of differs.
So if I was starting out right now, I would obviously build in a buyer's market platform, learn that.
Yeah.
But also in the back of my mind, I would also be like, okay,
Shifting
this is,
to the
yeah, like
balance.
how am I going to change this once we're balanced? And then what am I going to do when we're this, and have it all ready to go? Because if you're out in front as a
Yeah.
realtor or a mortgage agent or whatever business you're in, if you're out in front, you're going to be more successful than being the one that's chasing. It's no different than pricing properly,
Yeah.
right? When you price a house properly to what the current market says, you've got a far greater chance of selling properly. If you are chasing the market down,
Yeah.
you're always chasing, right? And you're hoping to hook something on that chase, right?
So don't get complacent in this. Just because
No.
you set this up, whether it's early on in your career or what,
Yeah,
you're going to be tweaking it. Because you also may have had somebody help you create this.
yeah,
Right. Which in most cases, that's great. Somebody's giving you a framework.
Yep.
Maybe on the way you tweak this or change that. But you might find something doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Right. You may have said, oh, my mentor taught me you always get back to people in
whatever.
whatever the number is,
Yeah.
2 hours. You're like, I actually like 1 hour better.
Yeah,
You change it, you tweak it.
Yep.
And you're also going to find that there are moments where your process had a hole.
oh
Right?
yeah,
So, I forgot to mention this to them.
yeah.
Cause of these hiccups. all of a sudden you're putting a huge asterisk to say
Yeah.
include whatever it is, this
Yeah.
document, this
Well, that
meeting,
summary
this
document that we
yeah,
were talking about at the beginning. Here's what your transaction
yeah.
looks like, right? That's to me, that's one of those
That's a good one.
documents of gold, right? Because
Mhm.
now I got a one-page handover document that I can give to them and say, hey, here it is. It's branded. It's reinforcing my brand.
Yep.
It's reinforcing, that I'm the one that sold the house for you, and I'm still helping you even after the sale is done. And I think that's important. I think that you know what, like everybody kind of, and we talked about it in the last couple of weeks, is once that transaction's over,
Mhm.
you still got to be there,
You do.
right? And
And
I think
even if
I think that's just as important
I think it's
sometimes.
tremendous because even so there are moments in a transaction where essentially my job is quote unquote done. I have
Yep.
received from the lender the 2 words,
Broker complete.
right, which to
Not
most
necessarily is always true.
yeah, and but what it means to people outside of our industry, it's any of the conditions that were outlined for your mortgage that the broker was responsible for or you were we took care of it.
Yep.
It's now in the hands of the lawyers.
Yep.
What I always do is I say anything else comes up, just get in touch with me.
Yeah.
I was telling you this morning when we kind of got onto this FCT
Yeah.
conversation, I had to be called in to the transaction.
Yep.
And I had zero power because in the lender's eyes, they're done with me. I've finished whatever I needed to do, but you're still providing that assistance. So whether you're kicking somebody in the butt figuratively or just connecting a couple parties so that things get sorted,
Yeah.
you still want to help. This is still your client.
I was going to say, you're also giving them confidence.
Yeah.
Right, because you're not stepping away when it gets challenging.
Yeah.
Right, like you're stepping up and saying, okay, I know I can help this.
Sure.
And one of the other things they have to be able to do is say, I know I shouldn't be in this. And a lot of times we get involved in things that we shouldn't be involved in that are, lawyer driven or whatever the case may be. I had a lawyer a couple of weeks ago say to one of my staff, we need you to draw an amendment. I'm like, we don't have a deal. The deal's dead. How can we draw up an amendment? And the lawyer's like, no, just do this. I'm like, no. The deal's dead. There is no deal. You are the only people that can revive it between the clients. We cannot do this. And the lawyer tried to tell me that we could do it. I'm like, I am not giving legal advice when I'm prohibited from giving legal advice under law just because you tell me
to do it.
And then the lawyer wrote to the other lawyer and ran us under the bus and said, well, the real estate brokerage won't help. And I immediately was like, ooh, really? That's what yeah. So, but I think that when you are the person who is involved in that transaction, we are facilitators.
Yeah. And you
Right.
you want to make it easy. You want to make it repeatable for your sake, but you want to make it referable.
Yes.
And I think
I agree 100%.
that is the repeatable for you. So you can do your job and you can do it consistently and easily. You don't have to spend too much bandwidth, but referable for them when they can say at the office on Monday, holy Hannah, man, things went south with this or this, but man, my realtor took care of all of it.
And that would be repeatable for you because now when they come and they go in the back of their mind, we had these problems, and then all of a sudden my realtor was able to help me.
Yeah. And
Right.
I think it's going to become like problems in our, and again, I'll speak to our world. Transactions are going to be, they're going to continue being bumpy.
Yeah.
I think that's a trend we've seen in the last year.
Yeah. Since the beginning of 2024. Yeah.
Well, so 2
A year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 2025. Sorry, 2025.
So a year,
A year.
But to me, I think they're only going to get bumpier.
Yeah.
Or stay like this for the next foreseeable future. And I think being able to on the bumpy road of a real estate transaction, you got to be the suspension that makes this.
Oh, I agreed. 100%.
Smooth, right?
100%. That's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah. So it's just you try to make this referable so that your clients can then send more people.
Yep. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah. So you can get more of your tribe.
Yeah. And I think, listen, I think you're right about a year. I think that, the world that we live in right now is very, with everything going on around us is very tumultuous, and it's making everything, everybody's a little jittery. I think that the first week in November, that will change dramatically. Because I think that there will be an element of sanity brought back to certain things. But we also have to be prepared for the unknown, right? One of the things that we're so reactionary in our
Mm-hmm.
business that we don't have contingency plans for what happens if. What are those scenarios? What happens if, you know, we were talking off air a couple weeks ago about, what's the worst case scenario? Do you plan for the
Mm-hmm.
worst case scenario? What we think may be the worst case may actually not be the worst case, and we could have planned for it and gone along. Like, so
Yep.
for me, for my clients, they haven't bought a house yet.
Mm-hmm.
What's plan B? Oh, that's moving in with mom and dad for a short term.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that ideal? Well, they think it's going to be easy. But
Speaking from experience, you can
speaking from
say,
experience, I can tell you that's going to be a bumpy road, especially
Yeah.
with 3 kids under the age of 6.
oh,
Right. So
Yeah.
now you got 5 people moving into a house, and you're all of a sudden like,
you're
this is-
tripping over each
You're
other.
gonna yeah. And so, like I couldn't have planned for that contingency. Well, I should have planned for that contingency, but I didn't know it was going to happen.
Right.
So how do you react? How do you deal with that at the time? I recently had clients that didn't want a relocation clause in their agreement. I'm like, are you sure you don't want, some time to go and find an apartment? Yeah, we'll be fine. That was a month and a half ago. We finally got a lease agreement yesterday
Really?
for April 1st.
Holy.
Yeah. There was just so many factors that played into it that I could never have imagined.
Yeah.
But I had to be able to pivot again
Mhm.
and say, okay, I now got to go find you guys a place to live, or you're going to be living on the streets.
Yeah.
Right. And
we
so
gotta
I
move
had to go out,
quick.
and I had to do it quick, and I had to go and pull some strings with some colleagues and say, listen, I need you to help me out here. Here's what we can offer. Here's what we can do. Pivot that conversation to now, instead of trying to sell a house, trying to sell the people so that the landlord would take them on.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always that, you've got to deal with what's in front of you, but you always need to be thinking about what's not in front of you and what the potential outcomes could be, that could, really affect, your clients. So I think the key takeaway from here is consistency. Whatever you do, you've got to be consistent with it.
Just sit down, map it out, write it out so that you know.
Yeah.
And you can do it every time. So
You've got whiteboards up here, and you were doing this earlier, and I was going to actually mention this because I think this is huge. I have 2 in my office in St. Catharines as well, and I don't have one here. But if I was to go back today and start over, I would have a 4x6 massive whiteboard that I would start mapping out my experience.
I've told you that to see things visually helps me think and understand stuff. So
Yeah.
you guys probably can't see I know you can't see any of this, but behind our camera we have a couple whiteboards, and Steve and I were discussing where this episode fits with recent episodes, because we were trying to figure out where to sort of
Bring it to.
and put a bow on this. And I explained to him my thought process was this, and this, and I drew it out.
Yeah. And it makes complete legitimate sense to me.
And it makes sense, but maybe my words weren't conveying.
Yeah, what you're
Right.
trying to get at, 100%.
So yeah, even as something as simple as that, you've come into the industry, you've got your database built out in a book or a spreadsheet.
Yep.
And now put your entire follow-up process from when the lead comes into your world to when you close, write it down, write it out in a bullet point. Hey, I follow up with them in 1 week. They sign the contract. I touch base with them 3 days later. We do this. I send them this email here,
Yeah.
everything down to the nitty gritty. Just itemize it and then tweak it as you go.
Yeah, and keep in mind, and it's no different than your database. So when you're doing this exercise as a new realtor, as a new business person, as a new mortgage agent, it's going to change. You don't know what you don't know.
And
you don't know what you like. You don't know what your skills are.
Yeah.
You don't know. You have to kind of be willing to tweak it as you go along.
the one thing I will add that sometimes I think people forget is like have fun with it. Meaning if you were in the client's shoes, knowing what you know on both sides, what would make this so awesome?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can't remember. There's a real estate coach out there that talks about the experience.
Yeah.
Right. And what is the experience to that consumer? And I think that's a great thing to think about.
Mhm.
What is your client experience?
How are they
Right.
leaving all of this?
How
How
are they
did you make
leaving?
them feel?
Right. And how did they feel? And if you can make them feel good at the end of it, your likelihood of a reference or a referral,
Mhm.
it goes through the roof.
Make them feel good, and you'll get more business.
You got it.
All right.
Sounds like a good place to leave this one.
All right. We'll see you
All
next
right.
week.
See you next week.